What separates pros from amateurs? It's not just skill or talent, it's how they prepare. See, most people confuse surface level readiness with true preparation. So when things go sideways, they freeze or blame the situation. But in this episode, we're unpacking what elite level preparation really looks like in business, in performance, and in everyday leadership. You'll hear stories from the stage, from the classroom, and real life business moves where things went off script and how true preparation made all the difference. So stick around to the end to learn the mindset shift that will bulletproof your execution, plus a king move that will instantly level up how you show up. Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa. Entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation.
My son, who is in the 6th grade, he had a project due where they had to, it was a science project, but they had to perform it, like do a presentation or a song. And I think he chose to do a rap song about the solar system or something and had to perform it in front of his class. Well, the technology messed up. There was a snafu. The screen wouldn't scroll or advance to the next slide or something like that. So it kind of messed up his performance and he was feeling down about it. And he told me about it when I picked him up from school. And he said that one of the things they were being graded on is their preparation. But he didn't see it as his fault. He felt like he was prepared because he had written out the song, he had practiced it. But it was the teacher's fault because the slide didn't advance or she didn't move it in time or the technology messed up, whatever it was. But I told him, I was like, well, you should have been prepared for those scenarios. You know, at 11 years old, he didn't quite understand what I was saying, but I was saying that, no, being prepared means being prepared for all the possible scenarios and having backup measures in place. So I think a lot of times, even as adults, we run into the same thing where we're quick to give excuses or lean on, it wasn't my fault. But what is true preparedness? And I would love to hear some of your experiences and thoughts on this.
Sure. You're dishing out some tough love there, Ethan. I think Shirley's just saying, he's coming to you to say, Dad, just be on my side here. No, but you're right. I suppose that my question would be, where do we draw the line and how many eventualities do we need to prepare for? So that would be I suppose the counter argument if I'm on your son's side. But it's true with speaking as well. And you go into a gig knowing that if your slides fail, you've got to carry on and you've got to finish the delivery of your presentation or your talk. And I can think of a few facilitations where I've had some video content that are sharing certain stories and certain insights, and those just haven't played for whatever reason. And you can't say, oh, well, we don't have to worry about that today. It's then standing there and delivering that content. So for me, preparation is with experience. Your levels of preparation probably we can maybe speak through this one, but with experience, your levels of preparation sometimes don't have to be quite the same. So that's maybe something interesting. I think of a talk that I went to of Mo Gawdat a couple of months ago here in Cape Town. And he got up onto the stage, and it was interesting because I appreciated and it rubbed me the wrong way. But he got up onto stage and he was like, right, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't prepared for this talk at all. In fact, I got the brief 2 months ago, and then I looked at it again for the first time a half hour ago. So I've got an idea of what I'm wanting to speak to you about. But so that's how he teed it up. And look, it was really good, and it was a great talk, and he touched all the right topics. But I couldn't work out whether what he shared was disrespectful to the audience or what he shared was also, I don't know if it was, because he's not a a flashy individual by any stretch of the imagination either. He's not overconfident. He's just confident. But that was interesting. Anyway, so to my point, it definitely, with experience, your preparation levels have to, they'll become less and less. I think of how much preparation when I first started getting into what I do now with coaching and facilitation. I also overinvested in preparation, and that comes back to bite you as well, just from a time point of view. So I think
Mm,
it's a really interesting topic because there's definitely a line that we've got to tread around being prepared enough, but and also respecting your audience, respecting your client, respecting whoever it is to be prepared, and then also
hmm.
not being over prepared, which is an overinvestment of your time because that's going to bite you at the end of the day as well. Sorry, that's a bit of a
How do you
dump
know
of
if
words.
you're preparing too much? I never really thought about that.
I think the real the honest answer there comes from when you essentially billing hours. You figure it out very quickly when you overinvest, and that's why I could use the term overinvesting because there's
Mm,
too much preparation going into what you're needing to do. And then you've got to cut back and say, how do I still deliver the same amounts of value, still deliver quality, but with the right amount of preparation? Because I cannot have 10 hours, 20 hours of preparation going into a 4 hour facilitation every single time. And that's what I was
oh,
saying
wow.
as well with experience, that decreases. So your initial investment into your preparation is high. But once you've delivered, and with your talks, if you think about it, the amount of, I mean, you've been hitting the speaking circuit significantly of late. The amount of
Hmm.
preparation that you put into your first couple of talks when it's a new topic or you including something new is the investment there is more significant than with your more recent talks where you're using some of the same content. And I know you're really good about always bringing something very new in, particularly in the AI space. But you're
Hmm.
around certain elements, your preparation times becomes less and less because of that experience that you have.
Right, right. Yeah, very true. And I guess what you're talking about, to make sure you don't over prepare, you have to keep Parkinson's law
Yeah,
in mind. Time expands to fill the time allotted for it, and time contracts to fill the space allotted for it as well.
exactly.
But I like what you said about redundancy because to me that's true preparation is preparing for the worst, and at least I would say at least have 3 layers of
Yeah,
redundancy. So what I told him back to the example with my son, I said, okay, being prepared, you have to say, well, okay, what if technology doesn't work? I said, why don't you print out the song on pieces of paper? He's like, paper? Paper? Why would I do that? But I said, you could take the paper. He's like, I'm moving around the room. Paper won't work. And I don't want to look down at the paper because I'm being graded on eye contact. I said, okay, fair enough. Maybe you can tape up the papers around different parts of the room so you can just take a quick glance at them in case the screen isn't working, in case technology isn't working. And then, best case scenario, if you memorize the thing, you don't have to look at anything. Now, it was the next day, so that's the toughest thing to do is memorize it. But he has a really good memory, and
yeah,
I think he did pull it off. When I got back in town, I asked him how it went. He said that it went well. But even in my talks, I do that all. There's so many things that could go wrong. I'm teaching AI for 4 hours. The internet, and there are over 100 people in the room. So everybody's hitting the Wi-Fi at the same time. The internet could go out. It could get bottlenecked. The sound could go out. Microphones could go out. The
yeah,
screens. There's so many things that I have to be prepared for. And I can't just be like, well, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, guys, sorry. The internet's out. We can't continue because it's an AI talk. I am prepared to where if all the power went out, if there were electromagnetic pulse and no one had power and we were sitting in the dark, I would keep talking and teaching you AI. You just need to remember what I say so that when the power does come back, you can go back to your computer and type in the prompts and stuff. But I have it so dialed in that I can stand there and talk for 4 hours. I know my material so well that I can talk to you in the dark and teach you about AI in the dark
yeah,
for 4 hours. And I think that's a good level of preparation.
yeah. I would agree with that. And it's yeah, it's having the assumption that something will not go according to plan.
Murphy's Law.
That's that's it. And how do you still deliver? And even if you had just one kind of contingency, and that's the one that you could go to. It's almost, if these three things happen, I could go to this plan B, and it will be okay in all those scenarios. What is that plan B? Because to have a contingency for each and every single one, and depending on what the situation is not always possible. But if that goes wrong, that goes wrong, that goes wrong, what is one solution that would fix all of those? It's not perfect, but it means that the show goes on. What does that look like?
Yeah. And you have to remember what your main purpose is there. If my purpose when I'm speaking is to deliver value and to teach you about AI. So if everything else goes wrong, I'm still going to do that, even if I'm standing there in the dark talking to you and teaching you. And, at my last event when I just spoke to New Jersey, to the EO chapter in New Jersey, and the organizer, Andrea, she asked me if I had a clicker for my presentation.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course I have a clicker. And she said, you'd be surprised. A lot of speakers show up and they expect me to have the clicker for them. I said, really? Did you know this? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming you travel with a clicker because you do a lot of speaking.
Absolutely. A clicker and the adapters for my Mac. I definitely never, ever expect somebody to have an adapter for my Mac.
I couldn't believe that. Speakers, if you call yourself a public speaker and you travel around speaking and you expect someone else to have a clicker for you, dude, you are not a public speaker. I'm sorry. You need to go back to square one. You need to go back to the fundamentals and take care of your own stuff. A clicker is what, $20? Come on. I was so surprised. I was a little bit offended when I heard that other public speakers that they're paying to come actually show up without a clicker. It kind of pissed me off a little bit. I won't lie. I travel with a clicker, my adapters, all the plugs. I even travel with a backup PC just in case they can't accommodate a Mac. Yeah. So if they're like Mac do you have Mac or PC? I'm like, well, I have both if you need it, but I prefer the Mac. But I don't want to take a chance of anything going wrong. Now maybe that's over preparing, but at least have the minimum. Have your own clicker. Come on, dude.
Have your own. That's a king move, is have your own clicker. I like that.
Yeah, whatever your realm is, whatever your industry is, the equivalent of having, as a public speaker, a clicker to advance your slides, you need to have the equivalent of that in your business. Yeah. Otherwise, you are far from prepared. Yes, that's my king move.
So before we end this one, where do you think preparation and execution kind of collide? Because, and the reason I bring that up, Michael Johnson, the sprinter, he speaks about the fact that he used to say two things to him. He would line up on the start line. He'd be looking at that white line and he would say to himself, am I prepared? And can I execute? And he said if he was able to say yes to both of those, he was good to go. He was dialed in and he was ready to rock that race. Am I prepared and can I execute? And I mean, you're going to struggle to execute without being prepared for sure. But I think you can also be. Let's think about it. And this is more in the sport realm, but I think it spills over into a lot of other things as well. Somebody who has reached a grand final of a sport, of their chosen sport, they are prepared. They've put all the preparation and training in the world that they possibly could. Can they execute becomes possibly a different thing. Can you execute when you've got millions and millions of eyeballs on you? Can you execute when you've got the weight of a country on you to win the World Cup final or win the gold medal at the Olympic Games or whatever it is? So execution actually becomes this real thing that lives separately from preparation as well. I'm interested to get your thoughts. I haven't fully kind of thought through where I'm going with that, but there is something to it.
Yeah, to answer that, I would say that you have to look at what could possibly stop me from executing on this. And then that's, to me, that's part of the being prepared. In the sports scenario, I mean, what if when Michael Johnson gets down at that line to sprint, what could stop him? Well, an injury could, if something's going on with his ankle, foot, something, a car drives out, gets in his way, that might stop things. But you have to look at all the possible scenarios of what could possibly stop me, and then prepare for those, have contingency plans in place. But there are going to be some things. For example, if I'm going to speak somewhere, and we were just talking about all the delayed flights right now. If my flight gets canceled, I can't show up. Well, that's an issue. I couldn't physically be there. But I've prepared in my mind. For example, I'm flying to Miami tomorrow. I have 2 keynotes in Miami next week. And the event planner who hired me was concerned because there are all of these. It's kind of a shit show in America right now with all of the flight delays due to the government shutdown. So I'm flying in the night before, but she's concerned. She's like, please text me when you get here. I just want to make sure everything is good with all the flight delays. I'm like, of course I will. But what she doesn't know is I've planned in the back of my mind that if all flights were canceled, I have enough time to get in a car and drive to Miami. I've already looked at that. I've already planned that. That's my contingency plan. So that, I look at what could possibly stop me from executing and try to plan for those. And that's part of the preparation.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll add to the execution part is also your stack of evidence. For you, it's am I prepared? Yes. Can I execute? And then you would look at, well, here's the 100 talks I've done previously. Yes. Check. Execution, locked down. So I suppose that almost goes full circle to what I said closer at the beginning, where preparation becomes less and less with the experience that you have, within reason. And that's not a reason to not prepare for something at all, because you'll get found out very, very quickly. But that experience counts for a lot. And with speaking as an example, and it's a silly random example, it would be a heckler. If you've never experienced that before, you might be a little bit thrown off. Yeah. You'll probably finish up and you'll go speak to some other friends who are in the speaking, who also speak, and they'll give some insights and be like, damn man, I wish I'd done that. But now I know for the next time, and now you're prepared because you lived the experience, and now you're prepared for the next time.
Yeah, very true. I haven't had a true heckler yet, so I have levels to go. But you're right.
You just have fans. Ethan's just got fans. Everyone.
Now I do have people who have tried to not tried, but asked a question that has maybe even been taking me down a rabbit hole, that I didn't want to go down. So it's not heckling, but you do have, we'll call that audience control. That is something you have to learn as a speaker. But you're right. You develop this checklist from experience. It's just like driving in a car. When you were 16 years old, whatever, 15, and you first sat behind a wheel, you had to do a lot of preparation to get ready to drive that vehicle. There's a lot of moving parts. But now you just jump in the car and go. You don't even think about it. So yes, a lot does come through experience, and you develop these mental checklists that get embedded into your subconscious. What's your king move, Justin?
My king move is going to be butchering something that Alex Hormozi said somewhere. And he spoke about taking 20 minutes to read something before you head into a meeting increases your IQ by roughly 20 points, as an example. And that's why I can't remember exactly what the numbers were. But there's something to that is the preparation. So preparation is always going to make you show up in a good light for whoever you show up for, whatever it is that you are doing. So on that note, I would say preparation is not only, the king move would be prepare for everything. It's one of the first things that I often see working with clients and coaching and facilitations, is that a lot of people don't prepare for things that they should be preparing for. And that might even be a one-on-one with a team member, as an example. So make preparation a key part of everything that you do, not only the big things that you do.
Love it. There's a quote, I'm going to adapt it for our conversation, but we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our preparation.
Yeah, there we go. Love it.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business, one right move can change everything. Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.